MothMan. The MothMan is a scary, unexplained creature with large red eyes and large wings like a moth. It was first sighted in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and was made famous by the 2002 movie The Mothman Prophecies, and has appeared before major world disasters. The creature often appears to have no head, with red eyes set into its chest. It has been photographed and been seen by eyewitnesses and has chased and harassed a number of people. The first sighting of Mothman was in November 1966 in Point Pleasant, Virginia. Two newlywed couples were driving together on Route 62 when they saw a dark figure on a hillside up ahead. It was almost 7 feet tall and had red eyes and large black wings folded behind its back. As they watched, it spread its wings and flew into the air. They sped off, but the dark figure followed them, even though they were driving at over 100 miles per hour. Later that night, a man was at home watching TV when the screen suddenly went dark and was filled with a weird pattern. Just then, he heard a loud, high-pitched whining noise coming from outside his house. When he went out to see what it was, he saw two large red eyes staring at him from the darkness. His dog took off after it and never came back. That night, the man was so scared he slept with a gun next to his bed. Another family in the area spotted a dark figure outside their house. It was almost 7 feet tall with terrible glowing red eyes. The figure came onto their porch and peered through their windows. The family were so horrified that they locked their doors and called the police. But by the time they arrived, the creature had vanished. News of the strange sighting spread around the world, and newspapers nicknamed the creature Mothman between 1966 and 1967. Over 100 people saw the mysterious Mothman. On December 15, 1967, a major disaster hit the town of Point Pleasant when the Silver Bridge collapsed during rush hour traffic. The cars plunged into the dark waters of the Ohio River, and 46 people were killed in the accident. That night, area lights were seen in the sky all over Point Pleasant. The Mothman was never seen again after the bridge collapsed. Many people believe that Mothman had something to do with the disaster. Mothman has also been sighted just before other world tragedies, such as the tsunami in India, Chernobyl in Russia, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and September the 11th in New York. In 2002, the story was made into a movie, The Mothman Prophecies, starring Richard Gere and Laura Linney. The paranormal reality TV show Paranormal State investigated the Mothman mystery in 2008. Humans can lick too. This is a scary urban legend called Humans Can Lick Too, or the Licked Hand. It's about a beautiful young girl who was left at home alone one night, but protected by her dog, which was a very large collie. The parents told the girl to lock all the windows and doors after they had left, but there was one window in the basement that would not close completely. Trying as best as she could, she finally got the window shut, but it would not lock, so she left the window and went back upstairs. But just to make sure that no one could get in, she put the deadbolt lock on the basement door. Then she sat down, had some dinner, fed her dog, and decided to go to sleep for the night. Settling down, she snuggled up in bed. Her dog slept underneath her bed. She reached her hand down and let her dog lick it as she said goodnight. But during the night, she woke up with a start. The girl lay there wondering what had woken her, when suddenly she heard a noise. It was a dripping sound and seemed to be coming from the bathroom. She must have left the water running, and now it was dripping into the drain of her sink. So thinking it was no big deal, she decided to go back to sleep. But she felt nervous, so she reached her hand over the edge of her bed and let the dog lick her hand for reassurance that he would protect her. Again at about 3:45, she woke up hearing dripping. Again she reached down, let the dog lick her hand, then she fell back to sleep. At 6:52, the girl decided that she had had enough. She got up just in time to see her parents were pulling up to the house. Good, she thought, now somebody can fix the sink, because I know I didn't leave it running. She walked to the bathroom and there was the collie dog, skinned and hung up on a curtain rod. The noise she heard was its blood dripping into a puddle on the floor. The girl screamed and ran to her bedroom to get a weapon in case someone was still in the house. And there on the floor next to her bed, she saw a small note written in blood saying, "Humans can lick too." The Bloody Mary legend. You're wondering whether Bloody Mary is real or just an urban legend? Well, she's real, or at least she was. This is the real story of Bloody Mary. You're probably wondering if she's real or just an urban legend. Well, the truth is that she's real, or at least she was real. The legend of Bloody Mary is based on a true story. According to the legend, you have to stand in the bathroom with one candle lit and say the name Bloody Mary into the mirror 3 times in a row. It is only the bravest of children who would attempt to do this, because the story says this will summon her ghost. If you see her ghostly face in the mirror, it could have one of the following terrible consequences. 1. Your eyes being ripped out and your face horribly scarred. 2. Being found dead with claw marks all over your face and body. 3. Disappearing mysteriously from the bathroom and ending up trapped in the mirror with a ghostly entity. You could also be driven insane or drop dead on the spot. Also, there's other variations on which the number can be raised or even lowered, from saying her name 6 times to maybe even twice. The Bloody Mary legend. The history of the chanting game is based on mixed up legends and history that over the years have become the main basis for the stories surrounding the urban legend. The most common story told is that Bloody Mary was a witch that lived over 100 years ago who dabbled in the black arts. She was found out and executed. The second story is more modern. A local woman was involved in a fatal car accident and her face was horribly scarred before she died. She reappears in the mirror when summoned with that same horrific face. There is another suggestion that the name Maryworth was derived from a victim of the Salem witch trials. The fourth story is that Bloody Mary is based on a historical figure, Queen Mary I of England. Mary Tudor, it is largely believed that the origins of the names Maryworth and Bloody Mary came from a slight mix-up of characters from history. Mary I, Queen of England, or Mary Tudor, who reigned during the Tudor period, was also commonly known as Bloody Mary. She was a Catholic and earned the nickname Bloody Mary when she ordered the violent execution of numerous Protestants and burned countless people at the stake for heresy during her 5-year reign. She also was unable to have children and suffered 2 phantom pregnancies. This is why it is speculated that the variation involving chanting "I stole your baby" became tangled up with the legend Maryworth. They say that Maryworth was a witch who lived in Chicago around the time of the Civil War. She used to catch runaway slaves and keep them chained up in her barn. Then she would use them in her diabolical black magic rituals. Eventually the locals took the law into their own hands and burned Maryworth at the stake. Her charred remains were supposedly burned in St. Patrick's Cemetery. Mary Worthington. They say that in the 1960s, there was a beautiful girl named Mary Worthington who was very vain. She loved to look at her reflection in the mirror. One day she was involved in a terrible car accident and her face was horribly disfigured. No one could bear to look at her. She couldn't even stand to look at herself. One day, when she accidentally caught a glimpse of her reflection in a mirror, she committed suicide. Mary Wales. Mary Wales was a young woman who was run over by a truck and killed while she was waiting on a street corner. Her face was horribly mangled in the accident. To summon her, you say, "I believe in you, Mary Wales." Mary Weatherby. Mary Weatherby was a woman who was stabbed to death by her husband. They say that if you go into a dark room and say her name 3 times, her mutilated face will appear in the mirror and she will chase you with a bloody knife. Mary Lou. Mary Lou was a girl who lived in the USA in the 1950s. At her senior prom, she was crowned prom queen. Someone decided to play a trick on her and set off some firecrackers. Her dress caught fire and Mary Lou was burned alive. Mary Johnson. Mary Johnson was a witch who was burned at the stake during the Salem witch trials. To summon her, everybody sits in a circle and holds hands. The room must be completely dark. You repeat together, "Come, Mary Johnson, come." A dim light will appear over the head of one person. Hail Mary. Hail Mary is a reverse allusion to Hail Mary. There's one legend that claims if you go into a dark room, look into the mirror, and chant Hail Mary 7 times, the mirror will run red with blood and you will see the face of Satan. Saverta Madame. In Sweden, there is a version called Saverta Madame. Black Madame. She appears in the mirror if you say, "I don't believe in you, Saverta Madame," 12 times. She has black skin, green hair, red teeth, and glowing yellow eyes. Queen of Spades. The Queen of Spades, or Dharma Pika, is the Russian version of Bloody Mary. Veronica. Veronica is the Spanish version of Bloody Mary. Kasuki Ona. Japanese have their own version called Kisaki Ona, or the Slit Mouth Woman. Candyman. The Candyman urban legend was inspired by Bloody Mary and Elizabeth Bathory. Another possible origin is the legend of Elizabeth Bathory, a Hungarian noblewoman who lived from 1560 to 1614. She was also known as Countess Dracula or the Bloody Countess. She is believed to have tortured and killed many young girls because she wanted to bathe in their blood. She believed it would preserve her youthful beauty if she killed virgins. She killed more than 600 victims in all, using hot pokers and Iron Maiden, pins, blades, and freezing water. Eventually her crimes were exposed and she was walled up alive in her castle in Slovakia. Of course her name was not Mary, but somehow the stories of this cruel woman have been inserted into the legend. How do you play Bloody Mary? What you need is 1 candle, a strong heart, and a big bathroom with a large mirror. Turn out the lights, place your candle down and light it. Stand and look into the mirror, chant slowly Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, and see what happens. If nothing happens, try spinning around 3 times, then look into the mirror. You may just catch a glimpse of her terrifying face. Try it out if you dare, but don't blame me if you find yourself trapped in a ghostly netherworld with the ghost of Bloody Mary forever. There have also been a number of horror stories, horror movies, and TV shows based on the legend of Bloody Mary. Supernatural Bloody Mary. Season 1, Episode 5 of Supernatural featured a young woman named Mary Worthington who lived in Indiana. When she was 19 years old, someone broke into her apartment and murdered her. The killer cut out her eyes with a knife and she died in front of a large mirror. She tried to spell out her killer's name in blood, but only managed the letters T-R-E-A. A surgeon named Trevor Sampson was suspected, but nothing was ever proven, and her murder went unsolved. Her body was cremated, but her spirit was trapped in the mirror. Dead Mary. In this horror movie, a bunch of young people spend the weekend in a remote cabin in the woods. They decide to play a game called Dead Mary, in which they summon an evil witch by repeating her name 3 times in front of a mirror. Urban Legends 3 Bloody Mary. This movie features features a young woman named Mary Banner who dies on prom night when a prank goes wrong and she gets locked in a chest. Her body was never found, and 35 years later, the ghost returns for revenge. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We will greatly appreciate it. Thank you.